Hello, it's U-Division here, and today we have another ICU Talk. Now, a better title for this episode would probably be, What Makes It Into a Fan Game and Why? And that's because I think there are various factors that are different from a normal game compared to a fan game in terms of what you expect to make it into the game. For instance, for fan games, there are already established characters or features or things that you would expect or want the developer to put in based on your experience with the real franchise. Unlike creating your own IP, which there really are no expectations except for the ones that are set by the developer. I think this is an interesting topic because, it's come up a lot ever since we started working on Seven Sages, which was about 10 years ago. And since at the very beginning, the original plan, I don't know how many of you know this, but the original plan was to have the party consist of Mario, Luigi, Geno, and Yoshi. And I think actually if you look into the files of Seven Sages, since it's been open source for a while, you can see some of the original coding and graphics for Yoshi, and maybe Geno. I don't know if he was removed or not, but they were going to be playable characters who join you on your adventure in Seven Sages. Now, many of you know that didn't happen, and the party turned into Mario, Luigi, and Bowser. And there's some interesting conclusions you can draw from that. And basically, I wanted to give 3 reasons why things don't make it into fan games, or basically how you determine what to put in your fan game. I think first of all, which may be the most important depending on how good you are at making your own resources, but do the resources to put in that feature or character exist? For adding like a character in an RPG, do the sprites exist, or can you make them? And you'd be surprised, a lot of what determines what we can put into the game is basically, does this exist? Can we use this? Is there something we can do with that piece of resource or something like that? And I think even though that's not what you want to hear, that's kind of true, because there's only so much originality and so much effort and time you want to put into making something from scratch. Like, by now you've probably seen, if you're interested in sprites, that there are a lot of sprites in the style of Mario and Luigi, the first Game Boy Advance RPG. There's less sprites for the newer ones, but there are a lot for the original. And in those sprites, Mallow and Geno and Yoshi all have new custom sprites made by various spriters. Now these have been made after the original release of Seven Sages, so we couldn't use them then. And maybe if we were making that game now, it would look a little different. And that's just kind of the nature of things. Even though people would say it makes a lot of sense to put Mallow or Geno into your fan game, and on some levels I understand that, but if you don't have the resources to do it, then you can't really pull it off. And also, as much as we are fans of the SNES Super Mario RPG, I never really understood the fanboyism for Geno and Mallow. They were good enough characters as far as any Mario RPG character goes, but I never had that same strong attachment to them, which probably also affected my interest in putting them into the game. And that's probably the second point. You just have to realize that it is a fan game, and even though we're all fans of the same franchises, we're fans of different parts of it. Some things may appeal to us more than others, and some things we may not care for at all. There are certain characters that certain games in the franchise we may not even play or know about, so there's always that to consider as well. For instance, I haven't played, I think it was Partners in Time, at least not all that much. I didn't know there's a character called Todeko in it, so when I created my original character for Epic Paper Mario, I used that name without knowing it had already been used before in the franchise for a different character. And that's kind of a research failure on my part, but still it shows that even though we're fans of the same franchise, we may not know the same things about it or have the same interest in it. And in terms of the third thing that determines what gets into the game, there's the practicality of just scope. There's only so much work you can do. There's only so much you can put into a game before either you don't get anywhere in the game, which probably happens to most fan games. They have all these ideas and they cannot execute. And you also have to know that you have to set a limit. You have to say, okay, XYZ, this is getting in. Maybe ABC have a chance, but they're not that important. So I've been kind of thinking about this a lot because of my work on Epic Paper Mario. There are a lot of things I can put in. There's a lot of worlds I can do, different types of worlds, different enemies I can put in. But when it comes down to it, I have to realize there are things I don't have to do. I don't need to put in every single enemy that's ever appeared in any Paper Mario or all these kinds of things, but rather I should focus on things that are important to the game to make it its own thing, but also make it a good tribute to Paper Mario. And that's kind of what I'm doing now. I have some hard limitations in what I want to do, some things I've set in stone, saying I want this to be in. And there are still some things that are up in the air that can be determined later based on how I feel the game is turning out. But it is kind of tempting to say, okay, I want to add this feature too, I want to add this and that. Because at the end of the day, it is up to you, the creator of the fan game, to determine what gets in and what doesn't. And that might be a little hard to manage when people have different expectations, but I think in the end, especially since it's just a free fan game, it doesn't really matter what people think or how they feel about what missed the mark and what didn't get in. But at the same time, you want people to enjoy what you've done, so it makes sense to ask their opinion on things and see what they want in the game, which is kind of what I've been doing a bit for Epic Paper Mario. So I guess I hope that kind of shows how I've been thinking about this and how I approach it and what I feel about what makes it into a fan game. Thanks for listening, and if you have any comments or suggestions, leave them in the comments below and I'll get to them. And maybe I'll be able to reply to some in the next ICU Talk. Thanks.